Are we expecting too much from our partners?
Well, here to battle it out, our journalist Martin Daubney, who says women are becoming too critical of their loved ones, and journalist Helen Croydon, who says women have the right to be choosy. So, Martin, we start off with you. First of all, you say women, over the years, have become more and more picky, too picky.
Yeah, well, there's a new survey out from the University of West Sydney, which is showing there are 15 deal breakers, and out of 12 of those, women are pickier. And it's everything. It's from playing video games to looking dishevelled, to be a bit scruffy, you know, the things that men do. Whereas men only care about women who talk too much, don't have a high sex drive and live too far away. QED, you know, men want an easy life, shocker. So what this kind of shows us is that men are prepared to compromise. They accept that they aren't Mr. Perfect, whereas women are holding out for this mythical Mr. Perfect, this Prince Charming who's going to sweep them off their feet. He just doesn't come along.
Have you witnessed this?
Yes, I've seen it in real life. I've got a friend who says my ideal partner is a 6-foot Swedish architect. She lives in Norwich. What I'm saying to you is there's this unrealistic kind of expectation for a Christian Grey, a billionaire with a helicopter, to sweep into their lives and sweep them off their feet.
Hang on. I think you might have gone a bit far. What the survey actually said, it was not dishevelled. So we're not talking about a Christian Grey. We're just saying somebody who, looks after themselves. I mean, you've got a billionaire. We're saying somebody that doesn't put a wet towel on the bed. It's not that extreme. I think, Helen, you'd agree, wouldn't you?
Yes. Now, I think that it's a very good thing that we can choose now. And I think that we do not know how lucky that we are that we live in a society where we can choose our partner. I mean, just 30 years ago, so my parents' generation, have got married at 22, they were expected to get married, and you sort of met someone who would do, mainly because women didn't have the same workplace rights as men, so they kind of needed a man if they wanted to have a good lifestyle. You couldn't really raise children out of wedlock because it was really frowned upon. And so these days, I think, life now facilitates being single, and we don't need a relationship, and that is why women are being picky. We shouldn't be surprised about it.
But the thing is, though, are you saving these relationships to later? Women with their careers, much more able to make their career choices and life choices, so you wait a little bit later in life, and then you realise you've left it quite late in life, and by which stage you've become incredibly picky, and so the pond that you're fishing in is a whole load of blokes who also have waited for quite a while.
Still presumes that we've got to find a relationship. Now, I do think if you are the sort of person, if you really want that lifestyle, you want to get settled down, you're not good on your own, if you desperately want children and you want that kind of family unit, then, yeah, you've got to compromise a bit. But that isn't really the only way. And I just think that, it's no wonder women are being fussy, because we can now choose a partner as a soul. People are saying, I want a soulmate, I want someone that I get on with. And I think that's a brilliant thing. They're no longer saying, OK, I just need anyone. We're in this for the first time ever. We're saying, I want someone who's going to complement our lives.
This is quite harsh, this survey. So, as you said, it's a psychologist in Australia. And they say women are likely to be more selective about their relationship partners to avoid costly impregnation by low-quality males.
Yeah, I think what that does is reduce men to little more than sperm carriers. And I think that's at the heart of this. Now, we have to ask ourselves the question, if we're postponing finding Mr. Perfect, is it making women any happier? Now, there's real evidence from America that the answer is no, it's not. There's a new book out called Datanomics, which is showing there's a critical shortage of good men, because men now are going to university in smaller numbers because they view university as hostile places for men because of campus culture. And so what's happening is there are less Mr. Rights, and the Mr. Rights understand they are holding the power. So you actually have less choice because you want the top 20%, well, so does everybody else. And these guys know it. And they are commitment phobic because they know they can play with it. They can Tinder and Tinder and Tinder, and they hold the cards. And so women postponing and procrastinating is backfiring.
I think it's silly to blame women on the fact that, this is driving men to be commitment phobic. I mean, that's like just saying, OK...
But it's true.
No, but men need to step up.
What about dating apps? What about dating apps and things like Tinder? Do they make it easier or harder?
Tinder has revolutionised the way that we date, and Tinder has definitely made us all more picky, men and women, because it's made dating a game. I hate the concept of Tinder. I absolutely hate it, because you just, you know, you swipe through, it's like there's another person, and it becomes this checklist of people, and you forget that this person that you're looking at actually has layers to their personality. Now, there are studies that show that the more choice we have with anything, whether it's a partner, whether it's kind of like what meal we have in a restaurant, the more choice you have, the more difficult it is to make a decision. And this is why people just
not for men.
constantly...
I think what this shows is it's women who are becoming pickier. And Tinder, I think it makes it easier and more difficult. It's easier to have hookup sex. It's harder to have commitment and fall in love. Because there's always another fish in the sea. And I think that's why we, you know, if we have these expectations of wanting the cream of the cream of men, then you're going to lose out, because everybody wants them.
Let me read some of these deal breakers to you. Victoria says, noisy eaters. You may look like Brad Pitt, but if I can hear you slopping your chops in the next room, you've got to go. Claire says, I couldn't have a man with longer fingernails than me.
Oh, God. I mean, that's all right to feel like that, isn't it?
Ross says, putting a wet towel on the bed will be the last time he stayed with me. Irene says, I don't care how great he is, but if he snores loudly, then it's over. Maggie says, bad feet, walk away, don't come back. Nicola, not allowing my cat to sleep on the bed. My cat comes first.
Oh.
See, this is funny. We laugh about these things and we say it's humorous, but this is the thing. We now, unless a relationship complements our life, there's no point in having one. And I think that's a brilliant thing and something that we should celebrate. Personally, you know, I prefer to be single forever than to meet someone who's mediocre. And it's about...
A relationship is about compromise. In every way, isn't it? I mean, Dan, when I first met Dan, he used to watch football all the time, and I'd never had that in my life. My dad never watched football. It was, like, new to me. But we've sort of met a middle ground, and I think that sort of ended up strengthening our relationship.
Of course, you have to compromise in any relationship, whether it's a business relationship, friendship...
No one mentioned the word love. No one said anything about love, falling in love.
Love comes when you give people a chance and you get to know them. You've often fallen in love with people. You don't sort of see somebody across the bar, right, that's it, I'm in love with you. Some people do, great. But love comes from time. But how do you find out if, as you say, you're not prepared to accept a mediocre man?
I totally agree with that.
I think you've answered your own
love
question.
Does come with time.
That's why so many women are single into their 40s, because you're not prepared to go for the mediocre man.
And that's where we're going to stop you there, because I'm sure everybody else at home is watching this and wants to have their say. Relationships